The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by DraftKings 2020 Houston Open First Look Early Research, all powered by FantasyNational.com. You want a discount, a 20% discount off all the tools and all the stats at FantasyNational.com. I suggest you type in FantasyNational.com/Mayo and get yourself said discount. You can also find it in the description of this podcast and video. Masters Week is almost here, but there is the Houston Open beforehand. I will have the full betting and DraftKings breakdown for the Houston Open out on Wednesday afternoon, like I do for golf every single week during the swing season. However, there's Masters to be had. So there's going to be a Pat Mayo Experience, Masters, DraftKings, Listeners League. It's a full one, 5,000 spots available, so it's going to be a juicy tournament. When I drop the first look Masters show, and I expect to drop that as soon as the pricing comes out. When is the pricing coming out? I don't know. I assume it's just going to be sometime this week. So I'll have a show all rigged up for that once it actually drops. You will be able to find the link to the Masters First Look Listeners League in the description. And you're probably going to want to get your spot right away because it's going to fill super quickly, because that's what happens with the Pat Mayo Experience Golf League. Golf fans and viewers of this show and listeners, best in the biz. Also, subscribe to Mayo Media Network. Help me out here if you're just getting back into golf right now. We got a ton of football. We got a ton of MMA, everything like that. But we know, that we're going to have all of, especially for a major, and then once football ends, we're going to be back full time with golf as well. But what you should expect this week for Masters, you're going to have the first look show. Over the weekend, the DraftKings pick show with Rick and Ben, as per every major. The betting show, solo, me and Jeff. We're bringing that back. Last one until the new year, I suppose, for the golf betting show. Although Jeff, if you've missed Jeff, he's on the NFL betting show every single Wednesday, the best show of the week. So we're going to have two best shows of the week next week. And then Wednesday of next week, I will be doing my live chat, where I would normally be doing the DraftKings pick show, so like noon Eastern time, right around then, live on Mayo Media Network. So another reason to subscribe, rate and review the podcast as well if you're listening to the audio version of this. And I think that's, live. Cut Sweats, Friday of the Masters. We are going to bring it back. We didn't do it for the U.S. Open. Football got in the way, but I said, fuck football this time around. Let's do the Cut Sweat show. Everyone enjoys the Cut Sweat show. And as everyone who tunes into the Masters Cut Sweat show knows, that I will lose. Actually, I won it last year because of the Griot stat correction in the app that went on, that I'll have my to make the cut, to miss the cut parlays. And you can see me having to go for like cigarettes halfway through the shows. I fucking stress out the entire time. But hey, worked out well last year. Hopefully, we can keep that going. Golf betting for me so far during the swing season has been an absolute shit show. My guys fucking suck on Sundays. It's unbelievable. I am just hemorrhaging money at the moment. So I might take it light on the card, although I always say that, and then by the time Wednesday rolls around, I end up with a bunch of bets. So maybe if we dig into the research a little bit better this time around, we can actually figure it out for the Houston Open. The DraftKings pricing, as I record this, is not out yet for the Houston Open. They're probably working on the Masters stuff. They're like, Houston, who cares? And it'll probably come out like later in the day, or it's come out as I'm recording this, and I just don't want to check it at this point. But here's what we got going for the Houston Open. Oh, also remember to smash the like button, and in the comment section, leave me your winner, who you think is going to win, your early lean to win. And remember to subscribe to Mayo Media Network. The course this year in Houston is a little bit different. In fact, it's a lot bit different than we've seen in Houston in the past, mainly because it's a new course. And it's a revamped course. So it's Memorial Park GC. It is 7,432 yards, par 72. The greens are Bermuda. Water is in play on 4 of the holes. There's only 19 bunkers across the course. It was renovated in 2019. There are 5 par 5s. There are par 3s, 5 of them, and there are 3 of them that measure over 200 yards. Expect those to be the 2 toughest places so far. Those are going to be the most difficult holes on the course. Let's just check out the scorecard, kind of jump into it. As you can see, I was trying to scan. This is the official one for Memorial Park Golf Course. I was going to see if, do you really want to be playing 8, 9, 10, or do you want to be playing like 17, 18, 1? There doesn't seem to be any sort of back nine, starting on the back tees, front tee showdown advantage as it comes down to it. When we build the model in a second, we'll probably see that we're going to rate in. I don't love par 5 scoring. We'll probably just add in 200-yard plus proximity, as that covers us on long approaches on the par 5s, plus the 3 of them that measure over 200 yards on the par 3s as well, and just go with our general ball striking. Although the one thing I really want to do, and I want to shout out, we'll flick over here to Cody Dubois at All Pedal No Break on Twitter. Sent me this long thread this morning, and it is fucking incredible. And this is going to be my insight for the week, so I thought I'd just bring it up on the screen right here. So I'll just read it out for all the audio listeners out there too. So Kobe, shout out to you once again. Tells us just some intel on Memorial Park, where the Houston Open is being played this year. It's 5 minutes from my house, and I probably played it 25 times since the redesign, including a few times this fall. Says it's reasonably short. I'd imagine they play at least number 1 as a par 4. It's a par 5 for everyday hacks, although that is not the case, as we found out. It's going to play as a par 5, so that's a very eagleable hole. Fairways are pretty tight in many places. They've grown up the rough, and it is very thick. Houston has been hot up until last week, so the rough has grown nicely. All the challenge in the Tom Doak greens. They've crowned in places and have some subtle ridges in others. Greens are pretty firm. On number 4, for instance, with the front left pin, even coming in with a wedge, you have to land the ball short of the green to get it close. Mostly mown areas around the greens and ridges make chipping difficult. A player with a good short game will have an advantage. Should be winds in the afternoon, which makes the course trickier. I can go weeks at this course without finding a bunker. They are small and not prominent parts of the design. Far more likely to end up with an awkward pitch or chip from closely mown area rather than in a bunker. Course rewards someone who can work the ball from right to left. That's also a theme we're going to see at Augusta next week, too. You want the guys that can move the ball right to left predominantly. That's why lefties end up playing so well there. Number 1, 3, 5, 6, and 14 all demand or reward a draw. The only holes that will truly reward a fade are number 8 and possibly number 16, depending on where the tees are set up. Assuming they play the tees all the way back and make number 1 a par 4, which they did not, there are some very long, gnarly par 4s out there. Number 4 and number 18 in particular are beasts, particularly if they play into the wind, as 1 and 8 often do. The par 3s are the star of the course. Very difficult greens on number 2 and 7. Number 11 is a 240-yard beast. 15 ends up very short, but one of the most interesting greens on tour. Huge swale in the middle and difficult to hold. Won't see many birdies on the par 3s, in my opinion. Would assume they have at least a couple drivable par 4s. 13 is endlessly interesting. Will probably just be drivable, but the green is severe, so missing it in the wrong spot turns it into a bogey hole. Number 17 is a cape hole around water, which also may be drivable. Although if we look at the scorecard, they have 17 playing at 382 and 13 playing at 406. Depending on where they put the tees, I assume that they'll probably make some drivable for a couple of the days, but we'll see that going into it. He did say sneaky this week are the guys that hit their long irons well. 3 of the par 3s will demand a true long iron shot, and probably 3 of the 5 par 5s will be reachable with the right wing, but may require a long iron. Number 18, a par 4 into the wind, will likely require it as well. I asked him if it feels like a longer Colonial. He said that's a good comp, but a little bit more wide open. You can get yourself into tree trouble at Colonial, but Memorial doesn't present too much of that off the tee. Basically, what he has said as it pertains to that is that, well, it is a park-lined and tree-lined fairway, is that if you do hit it into the trees, you have escapable exits, it would seem. So just based on what he has said and looking at the scorecard and doing some of the research, the additional research that I found on it was when Doak redesigned the course, he did it with a hand from Brooks Koepka, who did not sign his name to the project plans, but was the player consultant on this. I think it's a lot like Sergio at the old Byron Nelson course as well. So it's probably set up for how Brooks likes it. Brooks is actually in the field this week. So guess what? I bet Brooks. Sue me. I bet him when he couldn't win before. Might as well bet him now. Coming off, he looked all right at the CJ Cup. We'll dig into him in a second. But just it's a weird setup. I don't know how familiar. I assume that they picked this course because of the shaved greens that you can kind of putt from off of some of them. And you're going to see that at Augusta a little bit, where there's just not really any rough to speak of, especially green side. So maybe guys that have a good short game around Augusta, especially if these are slope greens. Although this is Bermuda grass, we're going to see bent grass, really fast bent grass next week at Augusta. These are going to be slower Bermuda greens that are a bit firmer than what you're going to see in Florida. So as a course preview, that's what we should be looking at here. I guess we should kind of dig in to see who is in the field this week, the week before a major. This is on fantasynational.com right now. I have it set. Fantasynational.com/Mayo, by the way. If you get the Wednesday deal, if you only want to subscribe to or become a member for on a week's basis, I believe after the discount, it's like $7 or $6 or something like that. Well worth getting the weekly to dip your toe in. But if you do it on Wednesday, you get all of the information for Houston and Augusta because it goes Wednesday to Wednesday. So you can make all your lineups on Wednesday for Houston and do your research. Then you'll have everything loaded in for Augusta all the way through. And you'll get all the live stats over the weekend in case you want to play Showdown or make some in-live bets. There's going to be Shot Tracker at this course. So that is when the stats become so much more valuable. I have the time frame set to 6 months, the last 6 months and the last 36 rounds. As you can see, a lot of these guys have almost all 36 rounds in. So basically since the COVID break restarted. Best players in the field in strokes gained total over that span. Dustin Johnson. Russell Henley initially got a bump in the odds because I don't think the bookmakers remembered this is a new course because Russell Henley has won in Houston before, albeit at a different course. So he was juiced up to like the third favorite in the field. I think he was like the same odds as Hatton to begin with, and then they readjusted them, as we'll see here in a second from DraftKings Sportsbook. But Dustin, Henley, Finau, Scheffler, Zach Johnson. Kim, Sammy Burns, Doc Redman, Tyrrell Atton, Christoph Ventura, and Cameron Davis are the top 10 players in the field over that time frame, past 36 rounds over the past 6 months in the field this week. Then you go into like Werner, Herman, Matsuyama, Norlander, Brooks, Denny McCarthy, Pat Perez, Lonto Griffin, Sergio Garcia, James Hahn, Lee Westwood, Jason Day, the Gooch. If we look at the very bottom, we're going to see, Martin Marty Trainer, Sung Kang, gotta be Kang, Kevin Stadler, Bo Van Pelt, BVP. KJ Choi is actually withdrawn from this event, so just before I came on, so he's not going to be in here. Luke Donald, Michael Kim, Jimmy Walker. So yeah, it's a huge line of demarcation between the good players and bad players in this field. Although it is a full field, you're going to have 134 players on the grounds. Top 65 and ties are going to make the cut. Let's take a shift over to the betting odds just for a second to kind of get a glance of that. This is on DKSportsbook.com. You got Dustin Johnson as the favorite at 7-1, followed by Finau and Hatton at 18. Henley is also actually 18 too. Big Dick Vic at 20-1. Matsuyama at 20. Brooks at 22. That 22 is actually the best number I've found on him. I bet Brooks at 20 because I do not live in a state where you can bet on DraftKings Sportsbook. If I could, I would bet the 22 on him there. Scheffler, on the other hand, he's 22-1 on DraftKings, 25 or 28-1 in other spots. I think that he is going to end up being my second look. I'll probably just go Brooks. I'll go Scheffler, and maybe someone from Daniel, maybe a Cam Davis to see if I can ride some form with him. I always like Aussies in Texas when it comes down to it. Who else here? We got Day at 40, Sung Jae at 35, Zach Johnson at 40. Adam Scott is back from COVID, 40-1. Sergio at 45. Then it just drops to Connors, Lonto, who's the defending Houston Open champion, different course, mind you. Lonto, Harmon, Doc coming off. No, he didn't have the playoff loss. He couldn't even get himself into the fucking playoff. Doc, give your head a shake, pal. Keegan, 70-1. Stuart Sink, 70-1. Shane Lowry, 70-1. A lot of these guys might just be using this as Masters prep too, because there's a lot of players in the field here. Jordan Spieth, 70-1. Werner, 70. Cam Davis, 75. I actually like that number on Cam Davis. I'll probably bet that at 75. Hoffman, coming off a bad week. Fratelli, the Gooch. Anyone else down here? Lee Westwood is 90. Eric Van Rooyen, 90-1 is actually a pretty good number. Sammy Burns, you're going to see people talk him up, especially because this is Bermuda. Although he's been burning people lately, 100-1 is not a terrible number on him. Stenson coming off the injury where he withdrew last week after making like 20 birdies in a row in his second round. Decided, fuck it, I'm out of Bermuda. He is 100-1. He is playing in the Masters next week. Phil Mickelson also in the Masters, obviously, 110-1 this week. See, Sneds. I don't know if he's at Augusta or not. Harry Higgs is somewhat interesting here, too. And then you got Duffner. I don't really know what to do from down on this board. It's just going to... Vegas has actually played well in Texas over the years, too. He made the cut in Bermuda last week, and you know that if he can get the driver going, he's kind of always in play. Patty Harrington showing up at 225. Good week last week in Bermuda, too. He's been playing well overseas. Let's just take a quick look at Harrington, so we can get his Yahoo data in here as well. Scott Harrington missed. I mean, I might just start auto betting Scott Harrington first round later. Although if Hatton's in the field, he's been like the king of first round. Yeah, Harrington had it going early on Sunday at Bermuda and dropped back. But last 4 starts at the Scottish, the BMW PGA, the other Scottish Championship, and Bermuda T9, T40, T14, T26. It looks like his game is rounding back into form after a just horrible run of missed cuts before that. So it's nice to see Patty back up and going here recently. Shift back over, and maybe we'll try to build a little bit of a model here and take a look at it. We're going to have to get a brand new one. Obviously, there's no simulator this week with a new course and the course breakdown. Now we'll have stuff loaded in. Bermuda Championship did not go too well for me in terms of the modeling. Using Stenson did not turn out well whatsoever when you have a withdraw in your lineup. So let's call this Houston. That's almost how you spell Houston. Houston. Oh my God. Houston 2020. There we go. Save in the name. And we'll probably just leave in off the tee and approach. And like I said, we're going to find those long proximity. So we'll add in 200 proximity. And we'll add in 175 as well for some of the longer hitters. I think I'm actually going to go with a bomb and gouge strategy at this course. So that will lead us to driving distance, but not, overwhelming amount of driving distance. I always just like to give it a little bit of a lean over some of the shorter hitters in this field. Although if the shorter hitters hit the fairways here and hit their long irons really well, that will prove to be pretty good for them. Where are we at here? Birdies, fairways gain, driving distance. That's what we want. I mentioned that there are the par 3s over 200 yards. So we'll throw that into, I know that kind of correlates with over 200 yard proximity, but I'll just give a lesser weight to the par 3s than I normally would. Par 5 scoring, I'm never really big on. That's why I add in the proximity range. A lot of par 5 scoring has to factor in putting when it really gets down to it. So we'll throw in around the green as well, although you might be able to putt from off the green here, which is kind of tricky when you think about somewhere like Pinehurst and you were able to putt off the green. Someone like Martin Keimer ends up winning there. And he is awful around the greens. What else? Is there anything else we want to check in? I'm going to take a quick look at the scorecard. What do we got for par 4s? 490, 456, 496, 503. Yeah, I'll chuck in par 4 scoring 450 to 500 yards as well, because those holes tend to play a little bit more difficult. But I'm going to severely weight off the tee and approach here. I think off the tee, I'll give it a 15% weight and crank up driving distance 5. If I was going to go 20 on that, I'm going to make approach 25, proximity from 200 yards 10. I will make 175 to 210. I'll only go 5 on that key par 3 range. I'll go 5 on around the green. And I'll go 10% on the par 4s. This is just a first run model as I'm just kind of looking at this for the first time. So we have 91%. How is that possible? Oh, because I cranked this up to 15. Let's go heavier on approach. Let's crank that up to 30 and go 20 off the tee. Really rely on the old ball strikers this time around. We have 5% to play with somewhere else. I will add in opportunities gained, which is a green in regulation or fringe in regulation within 15 feet. That gives you ample birdie opportunity. So let's just load this in, see what it spits us out. Hopefully something good. Hopefully Brooks Koepka. Hopefully Scottie Scheffler, and we can be pretty good. We'll assess those guys independently. Listen, Dustin's going to be the best play in the field. Everyone knows that, but he's 7-1, and I'm not really one to bet people at 7-1. So my rank over the past 36 rounds: Dustin, Varner, Griot, Im. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to throw in putting because I can't have Griot staring me as like a great play every single week. Let's get rid of 10 on approach. And we'll crank back 2 on off the tee. So we'll set it to 18 and 25 because we have a lot of approach type stats anyway. And we'll go with putting. What's the max we can make that? 7%? All right, let's go with 7%. I just need to dilute those guys a little bit just because it's not working out for me, although I know Sergio ended up winning. And how about these winners that we've been seeing? All $6,000 players on DraftKings. You got Kokrak and Stewart Singh. Brian Gay's like 9,000 years old. All right, so that got rid of Griot, at least at the very top. It dropped him down to number 7 in the... in my ranking. So... past 36 rounds, since the COVID break has come back, Dustin number 1, Varner Finau, Sungjae, Hatton are the top 5. Redmond, Griot, Laird, Purdy Murdy, he's another guy who ended up winning. Kim, Cameron Davis at number 10. Then it's Keegan Bradley, Russell Henley, Hideki, Sam Burns, Seb Straka, Zach Johnson, Lee Westwood, Brooks Koepka. Still, despite being terrible, it ranks ahead of Victor Hovland when all of this comes through. And then Scottie Scheffler at number 20. I want to take a look at these 3 guys in particular because they're sort of in the range where I want to bet this week. Where are those guys' odds? We got Koepka 22, Hovland 20, and Scheffler at 22. So let's take a look at Brooks for a second, see what he's getting up to. The driving has been god-awful. So he played, obviously he played well at St. Jude, blew it to Justin Thomas. At the PGA, had a very bad Sunday, but gained 6 strokes on approach, 8.4 at St. Jude. He went to Wyndham, missed the cut. That's when he went off, missed the U.S. Open, declared injury. And then he came back at the CJ Cup 3 weeks ago now, lost a bunch off the tee, gained on approach, gained around the green, lost a little bit putting. As you can see by his splits, better on Bermuda greens. That's always good. Nice to see that his around the green is okay. Long-term trends of players or of his off the tee stuff, he's been losing. So over the past 132, almost 2 strokes per tournament, 1.5 over the past 20, less than a stroke past 10. And then you have 0.1 over the last 5. If you think that Brooks can get his driving back in order, he actually sets up really well because eventually the putting stroke is going to come back for him. He's already striking his irons really well. The around the green is pretty good. Listen, he's going to end up being, what are the Masters odds on Brooks Koepka? I assume they're worse than they are this week, which is kind of funny to think about. And do you think he's going to use it as Masters prep? I don't know. Let's see, golf majors, Masters tournament. Brooks is 20-1. So he's the same odds this week as he is next week. And obviously the quality of field, not quite the same as it pertains to Brooks Koepka. So he's probably a better bet this week than he is next week, unless you really buy into the narrative that he really ratchets it up when it comes down to playing at majors. And maybe that's the case, but you'd think that he'd want to get back on the positive side. I'd rather burn the 20-1 or 22-1. Actually, he's 20-1 at the Masters. He's 22-1 at the Houston Open. Just based on strength of field, it's a better bet to bet him this week and try to be a week early on, because if he wins this week or top 5s this week, his Masters number is going to drop to 10-1 because people love betting Brooks Koepka at majors. They tend to hate to bet on him at not majors, which is really kind of interesting to think about. Let's see what Hovland's been up to. Obviously, we know the putting was been better on bent though. The iron play has been he went through that stretch of the 3 tournaments where he let 10, 9, 15 strokes gained tee to green. And since then, it's been kind of all over the place. Played really well at the U.S. Open. CJ Cup, he was all right. Zozo, a bit lackluster, but the driving was there for him. I don't know if I'm going to get to him. It's Scheffler that I'm truly interested in. Guy sucks on the greens. We know that. But it was nice to see that he's coming back. He came back from his COVID positive test that kept him out of the U.S. Open. Couldn't find the irons at Shriners or Sanderson. Couldn't find them, but he's been getting better every week. So minus 3.4, minus 1.7, minus 1.1 in the positives at the Zozo. But you can see that he's been getting better each week off the tee as well. If he can return to that ball striking, which made him so appealing heading into the U.S. Open, if maybe he's finally over all of this, then that is a situation where I would like to be a bit early on him. I don't like him at the Masters. He's never played at the Masters before. In fact, I don't even know if he's in the Masters field. I haven't done my first look yet. I've been actively avoiding the DraftKings pricing. Obviously, it's not out yet, but I don't want to look too much into it because I want to do a first look reaction show and really be like, whoa, I can't believe that guy is that price, because sometimes initial reactions are where you want to be. With Scheffler, I just like how he sets up for this course ball striking wise. Obviously, he did not play well at Colonial earlier this year, but the ball striking numbers were quite good. He lost a bunch around the greens, lost a bunch putting. Hopefully, he can't bleed them all putting. He's not a good putter, as you can see, but I do like him. I think that he is, and I wouldn't say he's undervalued. He's probably properly valued, but if I'm going to go to somewhere near the top of the card, but not the very top with Dustin, if I can have Brooks and Scheffler for the price of Dustin, actually, it's a bit more than the price of Dustin, that's probably where I'm going to go this week. But I already do have the bet in on Brooks at 20-1. I have not bet Scheffler yet. The only bet I've actually made elsewhere is Cameron Davis at 75 to 1. And that's sort of narrative based, although you can see he ranks out number 10 in the modeling. That's great. He's top 10 in driving distance. He's in approaches from 175 to 200. He's number 7. Opportunities gained. Putting, he's top 10 in the field too. So maybe if he can continue to keep that running, we'll see how he's been lately. Bad at the Shriners. Good at Sanderson Farms, good at Safeway in terms of ball striking. He's kind of up and down, but this is a situation where you look at him short-term and long-term. He's been getting better off the tee, and the approaches stayed around the same. He is riding a hot putter. That's never great, but maybe ride it for one more week, my man, at 75 to 1 and see how we go. Better on bent than Bermuda, so that's not a great sign. Like I said, the Aussie narrative in Texas is always one where I like to go. What's Jason Day up to? Oh, Duffner, number 1 in opportunities gained, can't make a fucking putt to save his life. It's incredible with Jason Duffner right now. He sucks me in every week. I'll probably get off of him this week. Former winner at Colonial. But with Jason Day, let's see, better on Bermuda putting at least recently. The weird thing is, because he withdrew from the CJ Cup, he was actually crushing it with his approaches that week. But as you can see, he withdrew with injury, so his stats don't get counted towards the overall point. But off the tee, he's been really good. He's won in Texas before. Approach, not been good whatsoever. So it's a decent number, like 40, 45 to 1, but I don't know if I can get there with Jason Day this week. It's going to be a tough field. I'll have to have my guests come on and really break it down for us and try to lead me in the right direction, or I'll continue to do some research on Fantasy National. If we just take a look at the individual stats and see who is playing well in these long approaches, Finau just rates out incredibly well for the score. Someone who's actually contended at Colonial in the past too, but are you really going to bet him at 18 to 1 odds that this is going to be the week that he wins? Maybe you want to. Obviously, everyone wants to, but he's number 1 in approaches from beyond 200 yards. Dustin Armour, Eric Van Rooyen, who's coming in at 90 to 1. Griot, Straka, Will Gordon, Phil, Grayson Murray, Tyrrell Etten, and Mark Hubba Hubbard are your top 11 in that category. Driving distance coming into the week, you have Burns, List, Finau, Wyndham Clark, and Dustin Johnson, Patrick Rogers, Will Gordon, Sergio Kristoff, Ventura, Cam Davis, like I mentioned, number 10. On those long par 4s, 450 to 500 yards, Dustin, Siwoo, Norlander, coming off a week where he burned a lot of people in Bermuda. Tony Finau, Scottie Scheffler, Christoph Ventura, Doc Redman. I want to take a look at Ventura for a second. I know he was lingering a little bit, but he missed the cut at Bermuda. That's why he didn't do well on the weekend, of course. Shriners missed the cut. He was really riding a hot putter there for a while, so maybe off Christoph Ventura. Although he does play these, I guess that's the product of putting really well, so you're going to play these holes really, really well if you're making putts. Doc, Carlos Ortiz, Fratelli, coming off a decent week. Was it Zozo or CJ Cup where he was good? It was the Zozo, his last time out, and a lot of that was around the green and putting, not on approaches. Been bad on approaches the last 2 no-cut events. That was against significantly better fields, though. Zach Johnson, although he has 0 driving distance, just continues to play well, rides a hot putter. Let's see where he has been making his bones. Shriners 19th, top 10 at the U.S. Open, top 10 at the Wyndham. He's just been making a lot of cuts recently. A lot of that has to do with the approach. I wonder about his lack of distance at a course like this where it's longer than Colonial, even if Colonial is a comp course. But the putting has been pretty good. Really rode that at the U.S. Open. If this turns into a more fairways course, which I don't imagine it will, maybe then with Zach Johnson, but we'll see how that ends up going. From 200 to 225 yard par 3s, Gooch, Day, Wyndham Clark coming off a playoff loss. Cameron Tringali, Bryce Garnett, Russell Henley, Sink, Armour, Homa, Brian Harmon, and Ian Poulter all rank out at the top, although Ian Poulter has withdrawn. That will be reflected once the DraftKings pricing is out and the odds are loaded in on fantasynational.com. Like I said, the Wednesday, if you want to get the weekly and you're dipping your toe in for the first time to get the stats, the lineup builder, we'll have the simulator for the Masters as well after the DK pricing ends up dropping. You can find all of that on fantasynational.com, fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself the discount. Like I said, it's going to be like $6 or $7 for the Wednesday to Wednesday, get you 2 tournaments, and it gets you all the live stats, in-play data for the Houston Open in case you want to play Showdown or live bet. It will be updated in real time, and that's always a great way to go make yourself money. It's a huge advantage on the field if you want to go check that. Be on the lookout for the Masters DraftKings First Look salaries once we get into it this week. Hopefully we can find some decent value off the hop, and then hopefully I'm right about it, and then I don't change my mind as stuff gets filtered in my head as the week goes on, because that's usually what ends up happening, not only to me, but to everyone out there. Again, full show for Houston Wednesday afternoon. There will be a Listeners League link for the Masters, not for Houston. That'll be NFL this week, week 9. If you're looking for a Listeners League link, same payout as the golf one. It's $15 to play, 3 max entry, no rake, best tournament on DraftKings in either sport, if you want to go check it out. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to the First Look. I will see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!